Now we're going to take some English sentences and try to represent those using predicate logic. So we'll start off by looking at our domain first. It's the whole world. And our predicates are A of X means that X is an animal, B of X means X is a bird, and F of X means X has feathers. So our first sentence here is all animals have feathers. All right? So it really helps if you try to rewrite these in a much more formal manner that matches certain patterns. At least it does for me. So let's start with A. All animals have feathers. So one of the things I'm picking up on is the fact that here's the word all. So we're going to rewrite this as for all things. Some people would say for all objects. If it is a bird, then it has feathers. Or the same thing, all birds have feathers. For all things from our domain, if it's a bird, there's no have feathers. Okay? So look at this, for all things. Well, that makes me think of the universal quantifier. Right? If it's a bird, okay, B of X is a bird, has feathers, F of X has feathers, if then. Well, remember from propositional logic that if then is associated with implication. And in fact, as I stated in an earlier video, we will often see implication with the universal quantifier. It's not absolute, but that's typically how it will be. So this is B of X implies F of X. This is what we would get for A here. B, not all animals are birds. Now you may see the all here and think this is saying all the same way, but really what we're saying is that of the set of objects that we call animals, some of those don't have birds, or are not birds. So really saying there's some animals that exist that are not birds. So here's my rewrite of this. There exists things that are animals and are not birds. There exist. Okay, I'm thinking existential quantifier. And we're saying these things that exist, which once again comes from the whole world, so we could be talking about cars, trees, anything. We're saying of all the number of things in the whole world, some of those share the properties that they're both animals and are not birds. So A of X and how do we say not birds? B of X says birds, so I need to negate that. So we typically would do it like this. There's the negative. And now I'll close this up because these two go together. Why not write something like this? Well, this says for everything that's an animal, it won't be a bird. Well, that's not true. Some animals are birds. So this is wrong. This is claiming there is no animal that's a bird. Okay? So that can't be right. We'll look at C here. Some animals do not have feathers. There exist So there exist things that are animals and do not have feathers. There exist things, okay, so I'm thinking existential again, just like the previous problem. Things that are animals and, what if I'd said they're animals and have feathers? Well, I'd have A of X and we would have F of X here for feathers. But we says do not have feathers, so I'll negate this. All right. And finally D, every animal with feathers is a bird. For all things, or for all objects, if it is an animal and it has feathers, then it is a bird. All right? For all things, universal quantifier. We're saying of these things, if they share these two properties, it's an animal and it has feathers. So A of X and F of X says then it's a bird. So why did I throw in animal here when I was writing this problem? Well, one of the things that popped in my head were feather dusters. You know, it's that thing that people clean with, so you have a handle here, and on the end are the feathers that probably came from a bird. So if I'd simply said, for all things, if it has feathers and it's a bird, that would still be something I could represent. I would take out the A of X, but it would be an untrue statement. So this would be a true statement, I think. I can't think of any exceptions to this. But anyway, this is the way that I can take these traditional English sentences and represent them using predicate logic. But at least for me, it's much easier to do that if I rewrite them in a much more formal pattern. And you'll see these in books that discuss logic, and that's where I got the idea from. Okay?